All right, you're watching TVC Breakfast. I hope you had a great time with the celebration discussion there with powerful YK. Now, but let's head into something else that also impact and affect Nigerians, and this time around of great concern. Flooding is a perennial problem in Nigeria. We all know that. It is the most common natural disaster in the country with serious wide-reaching impact. The majority of Nigerian states are increasingly suffering from annual flooding during the rainy seasons that have been linked to climate change. But unlike some disasters, human-induced flooding can be controlled with proper planning and the provision of necessary environmental infrastructure. While the rain may be a blessing to farmers, for some others, it has become dreadful due to the destructive impact it has on lives and property. Let's talk about this in the next couple of minutes. Joining us in the studio is Idowu Salawu, Environmentalist and MD CEO at Macpresse W.A Limited. It's nice to have you join us here.
Thank you,
Idowu. Now, the point is, we have talked about this. In fact, just recently, we were talking about the floods and all of that. Now, Kogi and parts of Benue has been on the news in the last couple of days, and the flooding has taken things to another level altogether. Would you say all of this is man-made? Because there's the issue of the man-made, and then there is the nature-made or natural disaster or flooding. But talk to us about this.
Yes, it's more of natural before. But what we are now having now is human-induced factor. Human-induced factor is now making it to be for us to have a lot of risk. We are now going through a lot of risk. And if you look at it, in fact, the new research being done on flooding now is that are we going to attain the SDG goal, 2030 SDG goal? Are we going to attain it? Because the flooding is affecting some of these indices. Farmland are now being affected. By the time the water settles down, now we're going to have a kind of health implication. People are going to be affected because their source of water is going to be polluted. Again, some may not be able to go to school. Infrastructure is being destroyed. They may not be able to take farm produce to the market. So now, what are we going to be talking about now? It has happened, it has happened. We need to now talk about mitigation method. We need to talk about how to resettle people that are in the area. We need to get them relief package. Then we start planning again so that next year on, we will not have this kind of devastating effect. And that's the advice I'll give to policymakers. And the advice I'll give to the populace, that is the people in the riverine area or people that are along the bank of the river, they should think of relocating. They should not be thinking that this is my ancestral home, this is my farmland, this is my family. They should just think of their life first.
But that's not that easy. You know that.
Yeah, I agree.
You are used to living in a particular place for a long time, and then things come and things change. Nature changes everything, and then you want to get to a new environment. How do you get a home? How do you feed? How do you send your children to school? It's a radical turn to life. And this cannot be done just by individuals.
I agree with you, sir. But they say when there is life, there is hope. That's why we have government. That's why governments all over the state in Nigeria, they start creating relief package, they start resettlement area. We have some in Igandu, some in Ikorodu area. And that's where, you see, when someone has life, you can still be thinking of how I can resettle myself, how I can plan my life again. But if you have been swept away by the flood, what can you do again? So it's still one of the things that is under the preventive measure under flood risk management plan. You must talk of prevention, you must talk of mitigation, and you must talk of how to do. Under mitigation, you have to talk of relief and resettlement. Then people now plan for their life.
You get the sense that this climate change thing has not dawned on us as it should be in this country. The impact of floods, the impact of rains, the impact of dislocations to lives, and so on. It looks like we are not ahead of the curve. We're not even on the curve of it yet in this country.
You are correct, sir. So what do we do? You see, environmental infrastructure facilities should be one of the paramount things we need to do. Climate change is real. Nigeria is not immune from flooding. Others climb to are experiencing it. How do they cope with it? What do they do to reduce the impact of flooding? Do we have infrastructure that will reduce the impact of this flooding in place? We talk of the natural drainages channel. We talk of people building on floodplain area. Who give them approval? We talk of people throwing rubbish on the waste unnecessarily on the canal, on the waterways, and we talk of inadequate waste management system by the policymaker and government. All this culminated into what you are referring to, why we are not even in the curve yet.
There are two ways to handle this thing. We will look at the story of Bar Beach, for instance.
Yes.
Historically, when the thing started, we had the situation where the federal government was sinking $4 billion every year, just to try to keep it as bad as it was. Yes. Then there was another model, which was taken over by Lagos State government, begun by Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, in which they said, we can reclaim that place and turn it from disaster into opportunity and even to prosperity. How can we do that in other areas? There are so many places in the country. Look at places like Jigawa, for instance, where they have flood every year. People die, and then they wait for it to dry, and then everybody thanks God that it's over, only to wait to die again and thank God again the next year that it is over. Why don't you get a solution? Why don't you turn it into prosperity? People are doing that. I've been to places abroad. Was it in Germany? Was this city in Germany? I can't remember where I went to. Where
in Netherlands.
They were all living on the edge of the water, river like that, and everything has been taken care of.
Let me give you historical background.
Hamburg.
No, okay, let me give you historical background of that Bar Beach you're talking about. I was part of it.
Okay.
In 2001, 2002, Asiwaju, yes, he started it. We did a report about Bar Beach. And Ecological Fund Office gave the contract. That was when Chief Yomi Edu was the Minister for Special Duty, representing Lagos State in the cabinet. And Asiwaju approached him, and they started the Bar Beach 1 reclamation. Bar Beach 2 reclamation, about 6 billion. And Asiwaju looked at it and said, it's like we are just burying money in the water. And he went to South Africa with some of his cabinet. I remember very well. And they came up with that idea of what can we transform Bar Beach into. It's a marvelous development, thinking idea, a very good idea. But what is happening in Atlantic City?
Yes.
Properly planned.
Yes.
But do you know the side effect of Atlantic City? Some other areas are now being eroded.
Yes.
There is no more Alpha Beach. There is no more Kuramo Beach. Other area too.
Yes, you have to adapt. You have to adapt
but
the same
if
thing
that
too.
system was not taken that time, maybe the
There'll
whole
be
of
no
Victoria Island will have.
There'll be no Victoria Island.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that is what we talk about, renewable energy of city development. It's been done all over the world. You transform a brown area to a green area.
That's what Shakespeare said. He said, nature must bow to necessity.
Exactly. And that now Lagos State is gaining two things. They have saved the coastline of Bar Beach, transform it to economic gain, and we reduce the impact of maybe spending money wrongly in preventing coastal erosion, because that was what we were experiencing in Bar Beach then, coastal erosion. And that coastal erosion will bring about coastal flooding. So, and that's why you see the entire Ahmadu Bello Way, that time, is always flooded. But do we still see flooding on Ahmadu Bello Way anymore? No. So, the same thing, city regeneration. Governor Ambode did the same thing in Okobaba. One particular section of Okobaba is being transformed into jetty.
Yes, yes.
They've reclaimed that area. So if you can do that, that stretch
across the coastline,
across the waterline,
the
river
country,
bank,
all the way to Bayelsa and
that is what these are the opportunity
rivers.
that is now coming up.
Rivers.
Yeah, but are they long-term implication to the reclamation of lands like that?
Yes.
Just because you were saying that, well, they've done a good job with that, but then there are other beaches that are being flooded. Talk to us about that implication and how we can balance it. Because we're looking for development, yet if that development is going to cost us something in the future, how should we approach it?
One, we need to do adequate planning. And we need to let the people who know about effect of river flooding, coastal flooding, and urban flooding. By the time we invest on infrastructure development, environmental infrastructure development, there is opportunity that could be created from that. That Atlantic City option is one option. Another one, if you develop the coastline very well, there will be improvement in tourism. Instead of leaving it for coastal erosion, you develop all the coastline. People will come for tourism. They will be visiting the beach. You improve the economic activities of the community around the beach area, and there is economic gain for people in the area. So that's one area. Another area is that you protect the environment itself, the flora and the fauna. You protect them. All the coastal line. That some area you have where they plant coconut, they can start harvesting the coconut through the coastline. And again, if you plant coconut along the beachline, you reduce coastal erosion too. So these are things you need to look into. Even though we're having disaster, we can turn that disaster into opportunity. The excess, let's leave Lagos. Let's now go to Interland. The excess water that is in Jigawa that you mentioned in this, if we have water reservoir,
yes,
and we take the excess water away and store it, that's what they do in South Africa.
Use it for power?
Not even that. They use it for mining.
For mining?
Yeah, but use it even for irrigation. During the
that would mean more dams.
No, for the dam. Don't forget the position of where Nigeria is. We have two rivers that came into Nigeria. We are in the basin region.
Basin.
Yes. So the one is coming through Cameroon, one is coming through Niger. The River Niger and the River Benue. So we need, now they are releasing water, excess water from the dam, Lago dams, and the other dam in Upper Volta. They are releasing them, and they are coming. Nigeria is the recipient state. So Nigeria, the basin that is receiving everything. Now, it passed through Nigeria, through Nigerian city, into the Atlantic Ocean. So the people on the riverside area are the ones that are going to feel the effect, because that is where they have their livelihood, daily livelihood. Their farming system, their even living standard, everything, their houses, household. Look at the data we're having now from the present flooding, this year flooding. 8,000 people have been affected. 300 people died already. We have 300 deaths already. We have the one in Anambra, about 49,000 households. 650,000 people displaced. One death.
A lot of gullies caused by all of this.
And so I pity the governor of Anambra State now. His environmental challenge, what he's facing in terms of environmental challenges.
And even Kogi State.
And even Kogi State. Because now flood is here now. He has a lot of gully erosion. He has to think of other things. So how will the people who are doing farming be able to send their produce to the market?
What would it look like in creating a scenario where if, for instance, Kogi State that houses where the two rivers meet,
That's why we had the
the
confluence.
confluence,
Yes.
exactly. If Kogi State alone cannot handle it, and you know that, okay, Benue is just by the side that also has or feels the impact. Anambra State is also just by the bottom, it also feels the impact. Down to Delta, and then down to Bayelsa as the case may be.
Kwara, Niger.
Exactly.
Niger.
What would it take for these states along that to come together, pool resources together, and work to see what they can do regarding the annual
Perennial flooding
challenge that they always have?
Okay. There is no arm of government that is not going to be responsible for bringing in a kind of mitigation method to solve this problem. We might not be able to solve it 100%, but we can at least reduce the impact. We have the Ecological Project Office. We have NewMap. NewMap is being created at state level. And state governments should make it a priority that no matter the kind of development you are heading for, trying to do for your people, all these developmental projects are taking place in the environment. Why are you putting a lip into environmental projects? Why a lip service? Why are you doing that? You have to make it in your forefront, a bouncing burner. You let it know that if I don't get this, just flooding alone can swipe away whatever infrastructure that you put together. So that's why the synergy between state, federal government, state, and local government should be together, and they should be able to come up with a kind of holistic approach to put in place infrastructural facility, environmental infrastructural facility that will reduce the impact of flooding on the population. That is one. They should check human settlement. They should make sure that the citizens adhere to the building code, and they should take drastic action where they're supposed to take it. And what do I mean by that? If you see any houses near the floodplain area, demolish it. Let the government take the bull by the horn. Because when the disaster now happens, it's the same government they will be blaming that they didn't do anything. So we don't have to be waiting every year to do resettlement, to give relief. But don't forget, environmental infrastructure development project is expensive. So that is where they now have to look for the fund, and maybe a special fund to tackle it.
I think that we are downplaying the value of environment
Yes.
in development.
You are correct.
We need to get a more robust environmental vision for this country. Something like a maritime policy, a maritime vision that will encompass everything. It encompasses farming, food, power, education,
Housing.
and all housing, and all of that. We need to get an all-encompassing vision. And I think the government needs to come up with that in collaboration with states, because that is the wave of the future. The environment is the main topic in the world right now.
That's it.
Even water. Water is becoming a source of power in the future. People are saying that after some time, some governments will start making plans to manufacture water, because they're saying that the topography of water in the world favors certain parts of the world than others.
Yes.
And that places like United States will not benefit from this new environment, and they're now thinking about how to make water, how to manufacture water for the future, because become the source of power in the world. When you talk of the top most powerful country in the world, it may be the one who has water.
That's it.
That's it. Just as we are talking about AI, artificial intelligence. Now.
Yeah.
All of it is also going to be used also to try to make water and make the environment, worth living in.
Sir, there are some countries like UK. I think there were changes in the government policy, and the one particular agency that is responsible for environment. Before I take this office, there must be a 25 years environment plan that we have to follow. I have not seen any government in Nigeria, apart from Vision 2010 environment plan that was done during Abacha period. And that was the only blueprint that I've seen. And it's there in the Ministry of Environment, dusting there with dust and everything. Nobody pay attention to that. Now, that Vision 2010 has passed. Do we do any other environmental plan? And in this same studio, the last time I appeared, I asked them, anybody campaigning now to come and tell us the environmental plan or the green agenda that he has for Nigeria. Because without that green agenda, you will not be able to give us any developmental program that will suit the trend that is going on in the world now. Because everywhere now in the world, they talk of renewable energy, they talk of green economy, and all these are what we are looking at that will salvage and that will let us be on the same platform with the entire world. So that's the only advice I would give.
All right. So I wonder how helpless Nigeria is at this time. You just said that, of course, environmental issues, the infrastructure is quite expensive.
It's expensive.
Really expensive.
Yes.
We're looking for monies for, basic infrastructure and basic things. Power, we have not solved yet. Road infrastructure, housing, we're still struggling with all of those. As much as we're making little progress here and there, and then we talk about the environment, which is huge. And we're talking about this environment. It doesn't have to do with one state, one region, it is the entire country, because the nature of environment or the challenges in the south or even in Bayelsa or River State or Akwa Ibom is different from the one you find in Sokoto or Zamfara State.
Or Lagos.
Exactly, it's different from Lagos and it's different from Benue and all of that. So we're talking about everywhere. How helpless is Nigeria in that situation?
For that statement you made, let me just give you how flooding pattern changes from one state to the other.
Right.
Lagos is on the lowland area. Lagos is prone to the three flooding systems: coastal flooding, river flooding, urban flooding in Lagos alone. And if Lagos want to start spending money to improve the environmental infrastructure development of the 6 natural gorges that he has, Idowu Salawu, the System 1, System 2, System 3, System 4, all those ones. I remember Governor Fashola, during his time, spent a lot of money to execute nothing less than 720-something kilometers of drainage clearing and construction of new one, running into billions of naira. But the next government, did they sustain it? That is one thing. And I remember again, federal government spent close to 1.2 billion naira to dredge just 2 kilometers of river channel, Asa River in Ilorin. Now they are doing phase 2 of it now, which is about 1.6 billion under 6 years. And maintenance dredging is supposed to continue, but Ilorin Asa River is still overflowing its river banks. And that river stretches up to 15 or 18 kilometers. So
it's a long way.
So that is the kind of investment we are looking at.
All right. It's good to create a mind picture so we know the weight of what we're looking at. I wish we had more time to talk about this, but I know that in the coming days we'll still keep talking, especially finding a way forward. Thank you so much, Idowu Salawu, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you
Very much.
Thank you, sir.
Right.